I'm Eden.
And I'm Sav.
Welcome to the Stay Focused podcast, where we talk to business owners about their journeys and how they got started.
They share the best parts and the worst parts of business ownership, offer their business advice, and we get all of their funny mishap stories.
We do this podcast because your story matters, so stay focused.
You need that right elbow here, but
I have no idea what you just said.
nobody's going to understand that.
That's such an unusual start to something that
A
you are now
sport.
doing as your career.
Right. I wish I was doing something else. I wish I made more money. Grass is always greener until it's not.
Hey, welcome back to the Stay Focused podcast.
And today we have Ashton from 323 Golf on the podcast.
We just love that he is bringing a new perspective for us because he's pretty new in his business. And we just want to get that new perspective of someone who's just starting out.
Still really
and,
passionate about his why.
yeah, he's just starting out, but he's like doing really well. And it's a very faith-based business, 323. It's from a verse in Colossians. And so, yeah, he's just a great guy, and he had a lot of good things to share with us about his story.
And also, we know nothing about golf, so this should be fun. Today, we've got Ashton here with 323 Golf.
Hey,
We're
Ashton.
so excited to have you on the podcast today.
How are y'all? Thank you for having me.
Good. We're doing great.
So golf.
I have a question.
Okay.
Okay, you have 2 dogs.
Okay.
Do you have a wife? I saw a ring.
I do have a wife.
That's good.
I forgot my rings today, and I'm scared to film this.
How long have you been married?
We have been married almost 4 years. It'll be 4 years in May.
Oh, awesome.
Mhm.
That's exciting.
Don't forget.
Were you born and
I'll
raised
do my
here?
best. No, I was actually born and raised in Houston.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Okay, so what brought you to Lubbock?
So both my parents met at Texas Tech.
Okay.
So I always wanted to go to Tech. And then when it came time to apply for colleges, I applied for 2. I applied at A&M and I applied at Tech. A&M would not take walk-ons for their golf team. You had to be on scholarship. And so that ruled that out for me. And so Tech was the obvious and easiest choice. So came to Tech, and that's how I ended up here.
Okay. So golf brought you here.
Yes.
And your parents.
And my parents, yeah.
That's so cool.
Do your
But from
parents golf?
Houston.
So my dad used to play more than he does now. So no, he doesn't really anymore, but he used to play more. My mom doesn't. She really likes putt-putt, though.
That's the same thing.
Yeah, more or less.
Yeah. I've had my fair share of mini golf.
That's where you belong.
Savage.
That was my nickname in high school.
Savage?
Yeah.
Sav, yeah, it works.
So you have this really cool indoor golf facility here in Lubbock, 323 Golf. I've never seen anything like that. Like, I didn't know what to expect before I walked in there, but it's just like all the technology that I didn't know existed that's so specific to golf. And it's just so cool. You haven't seen it.
No, I have no
Yeah,
clue
you
what
got to
we're
go in
talking
there and
about.
see it. There's like all this stuff that is, I'm going to explain this in a way that someone who has no idea anything about golf is going to
Or
explain it. And it's going
interested
to be,
in golf.
and it's going to be hilarious.
Go for it.
So there's like cameras, and they record your swing, your golf swing. And then it tells you if you were bad, right?
You're doing great.
Yes.
Yes.
More or less,
You can
yes.
clean it up in a minute.
He said I
Yes.
was right about it.
He said more or less. He's giving you a little more credit than I think.
No, I mean, she is right. The video won't tell you if you're good or bad.
But you will.
I will.
Yeah.
I'll do that.
Oh.
The video tells me whether, yeah, this looks pretty good, or we need to fix a couple of things. So
Man,
So it's like a judgy video system. But to help you improve.
do you ever get to a point where people don't improve and you're like, look, golf is just not for you?
So I have had a few people that I've worked with that don't really improve, but I don't think that it's because golf isn't for them. It's because they don't practice. Like
they just expect their 1 hour time with you.
Right. They'll do a 1 hour lesson with me. They won't hit any balls between then and the next lesson. And then they come in and they're disappointed that they haven't got any better. And I'm like, well, how much did you practice? Like, well, I didn't really practice this week. I didn't have time. And I was like, okay, well, you need to practice. I was like, even if you just go in the backyard, do some just air swings, like 15 minutes. Don't overthink it, but you need to spend some time practicing because golf's like any other sport. If you don't practice, you're not going to get better.
Yeah.
And it's also, in a sense, it's almost like, weightlifting and trying to gain muscle. If you don't use your muscles, you're going to lose them. They're going to atrophy. Same thing with golf. If you practice something and then you don't do it for a year or 6 months, or you don't practice between your lessons, you're not going to retain anything.
It's like everything.
Well, let's talk about you doing that. What if you took a 2-year break? If you came back to it though, because you have a love for golf and because like you've played and done things for so long, do you think it's a little bit different for you? Like you would come back into it faster and pick it up sooner? Yeah.
And again, that's also very similar to someone who might have, let's say if somebody was previous bodybuilding competitor, if they completely stop working out for like 3 years, they're going to lose a lot of muscle. They won't lose all of it. But then when they come back to lifting, it's not going to take them hardly any time and they're going to regain a lot quickly. Yeah. And it's the same thing for golf. In fact, like after college, I started working more of a corporate job and I pretty much didn't play golf for about 1.5 years. And then when I came back to the game, it didn't take that long for me to kind of regain a lot of the skill of where I was before.
How much of it is mental?
I would say that once you reach a certain threshold, it's mostly mental. When you're learning and you're trying to acquire the technique and stuff like that, and just learning how to hit the ball solidly and make sure it's, going remotely in the direction you think that you're aiming, that's more.
I can't do that.
That's more of a skill. That's more of a physical skill that you learn. But then once you get to that point where you're a decent golfer, so I define decent as pretty much somebody who can shoot less than 90 on, any given day. I would define a really good player as someone who can shoot lower than 80 on any given day. Once you kind of get into those areas, mainly once you start shooting in the 70s or, kind of low 80s there, a lot of it is mental and less of it is technique. I've definitely seen some players with really bad swings, but they know how to get around a golf course. They know how to navigate themselves. They know how to choose the right shot. They know how to decide, okay, is this a good move? Is this not a good move? And be able to strategically plan their way around. And they can shoot a good score even with a not good swing. Whereas you have people that have picture perfect golf swings that they're just a head case. And I'm not trying to throw shade on anybody because that was absolutely me. When I was trying to play competitively, had good technique, just a complete head case. Like mentally, I really struggled when I tried to play tournaments and stuff like that.
Terrible. Yeah.
It's so much harder than people think it is. So the mental side is
the worst.
The mental side's huge. Like I've learned more and gotten better as a player since I've been a coach because I've started understanding that mental side much, much better than I did when I was a competitive player.
Yeah, because that can't be. It's not anything that can be taught.
No.
You have to keep like working through it. Oh man, I do not play golf, golf is hard. It's a hard sport for me. Same as bowling. But I played tennis. And I remember being like, I am so terrible today and this is not good. But then like it wouldn't get any better because my mental was just completely shot. So I get it. It's hard.
I actually played tennis before I ever played golf. Yeah.
So there's hope for me.
Absolutely.
You seem like a tennis guy to me.
I love tennis. Tennis is so much fun.
Man, we're
like
both
more than
29
golf.
and we both played tennis.
You guys are practically twins.
Yeah, I think so.
Twinning.
I'm not from Houston though. I am from a big city.
Where are you from?
Phoenix.
Ah, okay. So how'd you end up in Lubbock?
This is your podcast.
Oh. Flip the script.
Don't ask me questions.
No time, no place.
No, my dad came here to do preaching school.
Oh, okay.
And then we stayed.
Nice.
How old were you when you started golfing?
I was 17.
Okay.
What got you started?
This is a funny story. So we were in, and what's going to be really funny is if this person sees this. So we were in California for one of my cousin's wedding, and there was someone who was there who I thought she was very cute, and she played golf. And so I was like, okay, I already liked golf, but now I have even more of a reason to want to play golf. So absolutely nothing came of that whatsoever. However, that was what made me want to like actually play, was to have something to talk about with her. So yeah.
That's a cute story.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
My wife probably won't like that.
Yeah.
She knows that story.
She doesn't
but
have to watch this.
I did that with Star Wars,
really?
but it was with my husband. So
Oh, well, that works.
Worked
It
out
worked.
for her. Yeah. Sorry, it didn't work out for you, but it seems like it did work out for you.
that's
Yes.
really funny, though. Like, that's such an unusual start to something that
A
you are now
sport.
doing as your career.
Right.
We should
Wow.
give her. We can shout her out later. It's fine.
What's funny is like, I don't know if she will see this or not. Like, I mean, I haven't even talked to her and
If she sees this, will she know it's her?
probably.
Yeah.
She kickstarted your career and she doesn't
Yeah,
even know.
seriously.
I mean,
She should get 10%.
right. I think I know what she's doing now for a career. I don't think she's hurting for money. So
Oh.
So
Wow.
you should get 10%.
exactly. No.
Yeah,
She still
so-
owes you.
Yeah.
So you started at 17.
Mhm.
Is that like early or late?
Way late.
Okay.
Way late. Most people think that like you start that late and you're
Done for.
completely up against the wall. You've
Yeah.
got no shot. But my thought process was, so there's a player that I really like. His name is KJ Choi. He's from South Korea, and he was a power lifter before he ever played golf. His nickname was the Tank.
Mm.
He's like 5'8", but
Which is
he's
unusual
strong dude.
for golfers.
scares
They're
me.
not big.
Right. So when he was 16 is when he started playing golf. And then when he was 21, I believe, from what I remember, is when he first shot under par for a round of golf. So, but now since then, he won 8 times on the PGA Tour,
Wow.
including a tournament called the Players Championship, which is one of the top tournaments there is. And he carved a pretty good career out for himself. And now he plays on the Champions Tour, which is kind of like the senior tour. And so I thought, okay, well, he started at 16 and he broke par at 21 and he had this great career. So I only started a year after him. And I also, the first time I broke par was within that 5-year threshold
Oh, cool.
as well. So I was like, okay, well, there's no reason I can't do this too. So that was the mindset that I had when I was trying to be a competitive player, was that, yeah, I started late, but just because I started late, there's no reason I can't do this.
Yeah.
But that's one of the great things about golf is, in a sense of, would you prefer to start earlier? Absolutely. Is it a absolute nail in the coffin? No.
So at what point did you decide you wanted to make this your job?
I think I was about 3 weeks in.
3 weeks in.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was hooked immediately. I had so much fun. I loved it. When I started playing golf, so just for perspective, I'm 6'2". I was 280 pounds when I started playing golf. And within the next year, I probably lost 60, 70 pounds, something like that, because I
Wow.
was at the golf course 6 days a week. That's all I did.
Wow.
It was like, I'd get up in the morning, I'd go, I'd practice all day, I'd come home. And that's all I did.
So it like suddenly changed your life.
Oh yeah. It also, I'm a very obsessive type of person. I have a very obsessive personality. So it kind of helped. Like
Yeah.
wouldn't recommend people get obsessed with things, but
We're all obsessed with something.
yeah, it worked out for me. I got obsessed with a game that I really love, and it's brought a lot of good things for me.
Wow.
So
That's awesome.
So what did you first start with to like make this your career? Where did you begin?
from a coaching side or from a player side?
Probably from a coaching side. Like, when did you start giving lessons and making this a job?
Well, yeah. Tell us like what you do and what your business is, and maybe that can help ease
Yeah.
into the question too.
So 323 Golf Performance, I am a coaching and club fitting studio. So I help people look at their swing, help them improve. I want to help them get better at their game. So I spend a lot of time helping people, kind of refine their technique. I don't have a one size fits all approach. If you look at professionals, there's so many different ways you can swing a golf club. It doesn't all have to be the same way. So I like to take what people do naturally and I like to improve upon it. So like as an example, we both played tennis. Because of my background in tennis, I didn't realize it until years later, but it had a huge impact on the way that I swing a golf club. I ingrained that physical movement pattern and I bring it into my golf swing. So now there are things that I continually have to work on that kind of combat that. And so I like to do the same thing with my students. So I want to know what was their background, do they have any other sport experience other than golf? I have to give them feels. I have to tell them, okay, I need you to try and feel X, Y, or Z because you're so used to doing one thing this way in such an extreme way. We need to get you going in the opposite direction. So yeah, like I said, not a big fan of trying to put everybody in a box. So there was a commercial on Golf Channel a while ago, and it was from kind of a legend of the game named Arnold Palmer, and the tagline was "Swing your swing." Big fan of that. So
that makes a lot of sense, and I resonate with that a lot because I'll go to golf suites with Jared. And I mean, it's just like a laughing show for him. He loves it. He loves to watch me try and hit a golf ball because I rear back to smack a tennis ball, but it's not. It's a golf ball. And so I miss like almost every time. It's awful. Like I'm about as good as my kids are better.
Can we go play golf together?
We should.
We could laugh at each other.
Jared loves it. He's like doesn't get why. He gets why I'm so terrible, but also he doesn't because he is so good at golf and he's just like, why can't you just do this? But it's like the muscle memory I have for tennis does not allow me to.
You'll have to make very exaggerated feels to get you one way or the other. I just
really don't want to. So
yeah,
I'm gonna stick to tennis, you guys. I also am convinced. Oh my goodness, watching golf on TV. Comment in the section below if you think that the ball is not actually in the air where the camera is saying it's in the air, right? Because I never see the ball. Once the ball is hit,
it's just gone.
It's in the sky. Like I never see the ball on TV. Do you see it? Can you?
What do you mean you can
Jared
see it?
Jared says he can see it too, and I'm like, there's not anything there.
Is it like something that only men can see?
Maybe. Bobby, can you see it?
I've also I've hit a lot of golf balls in my time. So I'm used to tracking it when it's left the club and it gets in the air. Like I know where to look for it.
Okay.
Like you know which way it went because you know how golf works.
Because you know.
That makes sense.
I'm like,
I mean, when
the TV is pointing to
like
nothing.
He can see which way the club was facing and where
so he knows where to look.
Well, and sometimes you can see like those camera guys, they're paid probably pretty good money for a reason.
Yeah.
And some of them, they probably know these players. Like they've seen them, they know their tendencies. So it's like you see one player, that let's say their miss is generally to the right. And they hit the shot, their body language is bad. Okay, cool. This ball probably went right. So they're already on the lookout for it. So
I never see it. I'm gonna have to pause the TV next time because I don't believe that there's a golf ball in the sky after it's hit. I'm so impressed that you can see it. I don't know how you do. It's not there. If anyone else has that same theory, let me know.
Yeah, it's really small.
I'm very that.
Okay,
does impress me.
Going back to when you first started, how did you first start out?
So as far as coaching goes, I was still working kind of my corporate job. My parents own a corporate housing company. It's based in Houston. And my wife and I we were living here. We were working remote for them.
So you like come from knowing business ownership then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. My parents started their business back in 2008, like right in the middle of that economic downturn. So I'm very familiar with starting a business and, not all of the ins and outs, but a good bit of it.
Yeah. So you knew you wanted to start coaching
Mhm.
Did you know from the get-go that you wanted your own business?
Yes.
Okay.
I knew that I needed some experience first. Like as being a player and being someone who has experimented a lot with different swings and different equipment, because I love to like tinker. I had the head knowledge, but it was like, okay, there's a huge difference in being a player and being a coach and being able to convey that knowledge to somebody else. And so one of the things that I learned very quickly through my start of coaching, which was actually at Texas Wedge, another local place here. Wade, the owner, he kind of gave me a shot to come in and start coaching, which normally you don't get to do. Normally, to be a coach, you have to start out like as an assistant pro at a golf club. You work in the pro shop, bad hours, don't get paid great, and you work your way up to being, let me back that up. You can give lessons as an assistant pro, but nobody wants lessons from the assistant pro. So once you become a head pro after all that time working in the pro shop or, some other golf like job, I guess, you can become a head pro, and then you get a little bit more credibility to give lessons and stuff like that. But
so you were very lucky to get hired right away.
Yes, because the thing is being a head pro at a golf club is not just giving lessons. It's managing the golf course. It's, getting people signed in on time, for their tee times, and, doing lots of administrative work.
Like tee time?
Like tee off.
Like I'm holding up my pinky for the people that aren't watching.
Classy. Yeah. Yes. I probably should know this. I really want to know, so golf originated in Scotland. So I want to know, when they first called it tee time, was it because they hit off a tee, or was it actually did they have tea, or?
It was probably both.
I have no idea, to be honest with you, because it's called a TEE time, not TEA. And so I really, as someone who loves golf like I do, I really feel like I should know the answer to this.
They don't spell great over there.
They don't spell good. So, yeah, I should know the answer to this, but I don't.
Google it when you're done and let us know.
Yeah.
So I'm curious.
Yeah.
But anyway, back to what you were asking. Yeah, so I was pretty fortunate to be able to have an opportunity to coach right away. It was just a part-time thing. And because I was working remote, I could still do my full-time job for my parents on my own time, because it wasn't an 8 to 5 type of thing. So I coached there at Texas Wedge for about 10 months or so. The beginning was definitely a learning curve, learning how to convey knowledge to people in a much easier to understand way. Because I can sit there and tell someone, oh, hey, okay, so your swing plan is doing this. I'm going back, club face opening this much. You're doing this in the downswing. You need that right elbow here. But
yeah, I have no idea what you just said.
Nobody's going to understand that except a very small percentage of the population that plays golf. So I needed to learn quickly, okay, how do I say this in a way that makes sense to a 12-year-old that's never played, to a 17-year-old that's only played a few years, to a 45-year-old that's playing because her husband plays, to all these different groups of people, and understand, okay, this is the way for me that helps people understand more clearly what I'm trying to get across. So at the end of that 10 months that I was coaching there, I had an opportunity come up where it was a practice facility that was called Off the Tee. They had one simulator, and I reached out to them and I was like, hey, would it be all right if I started coaching out of your facility and using your simulator, and I'll give y'all a kickback?
So that was when you decided to start your own thing. How did you know when it was time?
I guess I didn't really know that it was necessarily time, but it was I wanted it to be time. So the instructor that I used to work for, He's a great guy. He's a great coach. We differ on a few things as far as like our philosophy surrounding coaching and stuff like that. And I just kind of got to a point where I knew like, okay, like we do see things a little bit differently. I'd like to do coaching a little bit different way. So I guess that is what kind of told me, okay, it might be time to start looking. And when I reached out to that other business off the tee, they said, well, we would love that, but we're actually going to be closing at the end of the year. And so my initial thought was, well, would you be open to selling your equipment? And then I can take over your space. And so we worked that deal out, and now where they used to be is now where my studio is. You know, I've added a lot and changed some things and whatnot, but the space itself is the same location. And if I hadn't had that opportunity, which I very much think was, you know, a God thing, like I'd been praying about it for, you know, several months, you know, like send me in a direction, please, for my career and, you know, help me to glorify you in what I'm doing. And that kind of fell out of the sky, so to speak, fell into my lap. And
that's cool.
So, and if it hadn't happened like that, there's no way I would have been able to start my business so soon because we wouldn't have been able to afford it.
So was that scary when you decided like, oh, okay, I'm not just going to like work in this facility, I'm going to buy it?
No, it wasn't super scary to me. And this is, I'm going to attribute that very much to how I was brought up. So when I was younger, my dad had a very high paying job. He had a great job. Then he left the company he was working for with the intent to, I believe it was to buy out another company. They had some issues. That deal went south somehow. I don't really know the details, but it ended up with him being unemployed. And
so you had already learned a lot about all of that.
Well, I didn't understand any of this at the time because I was like 6 when that happened.
Yeah.
And so from there, my mom actually had to go back to work. She was a teacher before I was born. And so she had to start teaching again. And my dad started doing real estate. I believe it was real estate. And so basically like they were doing all that they could, you know, to try and make ends meet. So I definitely remember being younger. We didn't have a lot of money. My grandparents had to help us out with a lot of things because of all this. And then I remember in 2008, when they started their company, I remember how stressful it was for them because it was like, there was no option to fail. It was like, this is what we're doing and it has to work. Starting a business in 2008, right in the middle of that economic downturn, was unheard of, not smart, like just not a great time. But they worked really hard and it worked out. And, you know, they have grown into, you know, they're still a small company, like less than 50 employees, but they do amazing for themselves now. They're a very respected company in their field. And kind of the back end of my teenage years, I was more used to having more than we needed. Yeah. And so again, like kind of when I started this business and opened the studio, they did help me out with getting it started. So that made things a lot easier. And then I also knew that, okay, if this didn't work out, I know that they're not going to leave me high and dry. And I don't think that that's a great way to think about that, in all honesty. I don't want to rely on other people to, you know, pick me up like if I fail. But I have great parents and they love me and I love them. And I knew that whatever happened, they were going to be there for me. Yeah. And my wife is going to be there for me. And
yeah, it's good to have a community that you lean on. Like that's a big thing that almost everyone that we've interviewed here has said, is that like you need a community that you can fall back on, like no matter what, that is going to help you stay in check and all of things. So you had like expert help pretty much to get started from your parents. What do you think is the biggest thing they taught you?
So my actual degree in college was business management as well. So that helps too. But I think the biggest thing that I've learned from them is the way that they treat not only their employees, but their customers. So because I'm a one-man business, I don't have employees, but I do have clients and students that I teach, and going the extra mile for them, even though it might not necessarily be what they paid for, is something that I do. And it's not something I necessarily sit down and say, okay, every client, they pay for an hour, so I'm going to give them 75 minutes. It's not like that. But, you know, if we're working on something and it just clicked for them and it's been an hour, I'm not going to say, all right, we need to shut it down. Like, I want them to have a little bit of time practicing the reps with everything clicking and, you know, making sure that they understand it before they leave. Another thing that I like to do is, if anybody wants to text me after hours to ask questions, or when they're not actually in the studio with me, I give them free reign to do so. I know that that might not always be the case forever, depending on how many clients I get. But for right now, I have the time and the availability to do it. And I want people to ask me questions. And not every coach does that. So I give them a lot more access to me than other coaches do. And I do my best to treat them as best as I can and provide them with more than they thought that they were getting. And my parents do the same thing with their customers and employees as well. And so I think that's one of the big things that they taught me.
Like caring for people.
Right, exactly.
At the forefront. Yeah, I like that.
Do you like watching the Swing documentary on Netflix?
So I've watched 1 or 2 episodes, to be honest with you.
Really?
I haven't watched much of it otherwise.
I've heard season 2 is great.
I've heard it's really good.
Are you watching that?
I am. Jared loves golf.
Oh yeah, I forget.
It's not just decoration in his office.
I actually don't really like watching TV or movies very much.
Oh.
Do you watch golf?
Not as much as I used to. I love watching sports.
Yeah.
And lately my wife and I have been watching a lot of Survivor. So that's been fun too. But generally speaking, I don't really like to sit down and watch TV. Like when I have free time, the last thing on my mind is I want to plop down on the couch and watch TV or a movie.
Yeah.
Now, it's not everybody.
You're the guy who wants to go out on the golf course.
I want to go do something, or like I want to lay down and relax. You know, maybe pop on I like watching YouTube videos, like just miscellaneous things about various different topics and stuff like that. But just kind of short form, 10 minutes, something like that. I don't.
Knowledge gaining stuff, not hour wasting stuff.
Not always. Like sometimes it's definitely mind wasting. But
like SpongeBob?
Yeah, I definitely. My mind is full of, like what's bad is I feel like I can remember more quotes from SpongeBob and more music lyrics than I can quote scripture. And I think that's a problem. Like I can quote a fair bit of scripture, at least from my perspective.
Okay, but like SpongeBob and song lyrics are intentionally catchy.
Right. But either way, like just
new job, make Bible verses into songs that are catchy.
Right.
Jeremiah.
It's like Shane and Shane did Psalm 46 and Psalm 51 are like 2 of my favorites. Those are really good.
How do you feel about Live?
The Live tour?
What's your hot take?
My hot take is from the little bit that I understand, I'm not a huge fan of where the money is coming from for that tour. However,
do you like some of the players that went?
I do like some of the players that went to Live.
Did it make you change your mind about them?
It took me a while to really. I tried to block out the noise a little bit because it's like
form your own opinion.
Yeah, and I'll be honest. Initially, I was like, "Oh, good riddance."
Yeah.
Like
some of it was pretty. Pretty shady. I said shady. I didn't.
I didn't even think. Yeah, that really sounded.
I did not enunciate that part.
Yeah, some of it was the little, like I said, the little bit that I knew about how the money was, brought for this tour.
Yeah,
I was like, okay, well, I don't know if I agree with that. At least the little. Actually, I was like, I know I don't agree with that. However, I think we could almost say the same thing about a lot of the companies that we buy stuff from.
Fair.
Not to ever excuse it.
Boycott everyone.
Right. If we were to boycott every single thing that did something that we don't approve of, none of us would have anything.
Yeah.
That's why you support local.
But I also just want to point out that men can be petty.
Oh, men can be
Are
petty.
you saying women can't be petty?
Everyone always says women are petty, but Liv and PGA, petty.
Well, I don't know anything about what you're talking about, so
You should watch the swing documentary and then you would know.
I'm not that into golf. See,
It's pretty good.
The only reason why
Tiger Woods.
like I know that name, but the only reason why I know remotely what you're talking about is because you're my client and I've done research on it.
Gotcha.
That's the only reason.
That's
You should
okay.
watch it though. It's good. I would not just tell you that.
Okay.
And there's a guy
Well,
on
what
there
if I
that we
don't
can
know anything
both
about
bash
golf?
together, and you'll know exactly who I'm talking about when you watch it.
Okay. Good to know.
But either way, I mean, I'm not a. It's the same thing with politics.
Yeah, you just
So
stick to
it's-
what you're doing. You love your sport. You don't care about the rest.
There's things on both sides of the
Mhm.
political spectrum that I agree with and don't agree with.
Mhm.
I align more with one side than another,
Mhm.
and I align more with one side than another. Say here,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
What if I told you I agree with everything each side thinks?
if someone
Jesus tells you not to be lukewarm.
No, I'm not. I'm like I extremely agree with everything.
No, you don't. And that's also lukewarm.
I would ask. Well, first, if someone said that I think this is right and this is right, I believe that truth is objective, which means that there are certain things that are 100% correct. There is no alternative to it.
Like 2 + 2 is 5.
You're not a speak your truth person.
I am not a speak your truth
I
person.
like that.
Okay, but like it depends. Like it's true that I like this table,
hmm
but that may not be true for you.
Right. Now, that is something that is subjective.
You hate this table?
No, I like the table. Table's fine to me. But something that is objective is that, excuse me, since, we'll go faith-based here. Something that is an objective truth is that Jesus Christ is the Son of God.
Mm.
That he was on this earth 2,000 plus years ago. He lived, he died, he rose again. He's at the right hand of the Father.
Mm-hmm.
That's an objective truth. That's something that no matter whether you believe it or not, does not actually make a difference in whether it's true or not. And so it's the same thing with if someone said, oh, I 100% agree with PGA and 100% agree with Liv. You could say that. That doesn't make what you said actually a truthful statement, though, because there are going to be things that are in complete opposition and you can't hold both at the same time.
Yeah.
Wow.
Maybe if you can't decide.
Because he's a wise 29-year-old.
Yeah, you guys are so old and wise.
It's because I ask a lot of questions.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, I want to go to business ownership in general type of things. What has been the hardest part of owning a business?
Probably time management and not bringing my work home with me.
Oh, yeah.
So I definitely do that a lot. And my wife will give me the, dude, hang up or hang out, or hang up and hang out.
I literally can never get that phrase right. I always say like, hang out and shut up. Wait, no, that's not it. Anyway.
Yeah. So that's probably the hardest part is not bringing work home with me, time management type of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let us know if you figure it out.
I feel like, okay, this is just me as a non-business owner, but I don't think I've ever seen one that doesn't.
Especially when you do it together. Like sometimes the dinner table is where we are going to talk about our day because we just have to. Because you told me something last minute. I mean, we see what happens. This morning was a perfect example.
What did I
Jared
do?
didn't tell you? You said, oh, Jared didn't tell you about that? And I was like, what? So it's because
And I said, has Jared told you about that?
anyways.
I'm
I mean,
sorry.
It's easy though. It's
don't
wanna
easy
cause-
to bring. No, you're not causing any issues. I'm just pointing out that like for business owners, it is hard. And man, we try so hard to make home. But when it's your life mixed with your job, it is very hard to differentiate the two.
Mhm.
Well, and I think that also we don't always want to completely differentiate them. Like I want to be the same person that I am at home is the same person that I am at my business is the same person that I am here, same
Yeah.
person at church, same
very
person if I
authentic.
run into somebody at,
Yeah.
Moto Medi. Also, shout out Moto Medi.
Ooh.
We should do a collab.
Us first.
Moto Medi and golf.
Yes.
That's fun.
But yeah, I want to be the same person that I am everywhere.
Yeah.
So yes, while it's important to be able to set time aside, be like, okay, I'm done with work for today. I need to spend time with my wife. I need to take my dogs for a walk. I need to play with them, cook dinner, do all that
Teach
type
your
of stuff.
dogs to golf.
Exactly. Or to fetch the golf ball and bring it back to me.
There's your ball locator.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So all those things are important, but at the same time, and in the name of my business, 323 Golf Performance, it's from Colossians 3:23. Whatever you do, do it as if for the Lord and not for man. And I don't want that to just be my slogan when I'm in the studio.
Yeah.
I want that to be something that I live my life by. And so even though my work and my personal life overlap, I would argue that there should be some, but there also should be times to compartmentalize a little bit, take some time off, spend time with, family and friends. And
Yeah.
Yeah. So that has been the hardest part of owning a business. What's been the most rewarding part?
my own hours. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's, if I have something that I need to do, if I need to run an errand and it's more convenient for me to go run it at 1 p.m., I can block off time to go do that. So that's, I love that aspect of it. And, if I have normally I am available from 9 to 6, Monday through Friday, and then from 9 to 1 on Saturdays. But if there is something that's an extenuating circumstance, I've got a client that lives out in Levelland. If she is unavailable until 5:30 because of school, and that puts me at 6:30, that's technically 30 minutes after I'm supposed to be done, but it's my business. I'll stay as late as I want. So that's not a problem.
It's like jail for most of the time, but freedom in unexpected ways the rest of the time.
Right.
Jail most of the time.
I mean, if you know, you know.
Right.
So, but it is the fun little things like that. That's freedom. Like I get to go to my kids' school and I get to take off whenever I want for whatever reason I want. And I don't report to anyone. And so it is nice perks there. But then, you're working all the time. So
you have to be a
other
business
things.
owner. You have to be very disciplined.
You gotta. Yep.
So.
Yeah. So if you could, I know, when did you first open up 323?
January 2nd of 2024.
Okay. So it's fairly
Wow.
new. Yeah. And
I don't think I knew that.
yeah.
Congrats.
Thank you.
4 months in. Wow.
So if you could go back a whole 4 months and do it all over again, would you do anything different?
Would I do anything different? No, I don't think there's anything that I would do differently. There might be a couple of pieces of equipment here and there that maybe I should have gone with this instead of this, something like that. But other than that, as far as the process goes, no.
Okay. 2 questions that we always ask. 4 months in, have you wanted to give up at any point yet?
No.
That's the wrong answer.
You're the first one who said no.
Really?
Yeah. It might be the
But
4
you're
months
also 4
thing.
months
Yeah.
in, so
Right.
we'll check back in a year.
Yeah.
The way I think about it is, and I spent, I don't even know how long, just trying to be like, what on earth am I supposed to do with my life? Because it's like, we live in a computer age, and I absolutely hate sitting at computers.
Oh boy.
And I just,
That's what I do all day,
It's like you
every
would not
day.
make it here.
I love communicating with people. I'm more of, it's weird because I'm pretty introverted, but when I do interact with people, I love it.
Yeah.
So I'm very much more of a people person than a computer person. So in an age where I feel like so many of the people careers, a lot of the time, like you need, let's go doctor, lawyer, stuff like that. It's like you need some very specialized training for physical therapist. I didn't do any of that in college because I didn't know that I wanted that. And then, I get out of college and I've got a business degree and I'm like, okay, well, what the heck do I want to do? It's like, I don't want to I don't want to be on the computer all day. I can't stand being on the computer
Like
all
you
day.
didn't want to settle.
Yeah, exactly. And so for me, it's like I have my dream job, essentially, is I get to coach and play golf for a living. So anytime that like something's hard, instead of wanting, I don't really ever get the feeling that I want to quit. And it's more like, okay, so how can I make this better? How can I improve more?
I love that we're getting this perspective from you because like that's part of the reason. It's only a little part of the reason why I wanted you on the podcast so bad is because we haven't gotten a perspective from someone who's newish yet.
Okay.
Everyone has kind of been in it for many years and they've gotten to the point where it's monotonous and they don't remember why they started. And that's like our whole thing here.
Refreshing.
Yeah. Our whole thing here is like your story matters. Stay focused on basically why you started in the first place. Like, why are you passionate? And like, I love hearing the perspective of like, it's your dream job and you still are so focused on that. And like, we hope you can stay focused on that because it's really like what drives everything. Like you said, like when it gets hard, you just want to improve and you just want to keep going because you love it.
Well, and I'll be honest too, like there have been times where it's like, today's a drag, you know? But the thing is that that's the case for everybody in every career. Our ultimate goal, if our ultimate goal and our ultimate fulfillment is in our jobs, we're going to be absolutely miserable. And our life is going to be like this, ups and downs all the time, no consistency, because we're so focused on, you know, how's my job going? And that's not what we're called as Christians to be focused on. Our ultimate goal is honoring and glorifying Christ. And at the end of the day, you know, being able to have, you know, God say, you know, well done, good and faithful servant. You know, none of us are perfect. We don't ever do everything right. But if I have that as my perspective, no matter how bad my day at work might be, I'm able to look ahead and say, you know what? Even if I had another job at this moment when I'm frustrated, it doesn't change my goal and my ultimate outcome. The grass is always greener. I'll put it, I'll put it that way. I know that firsthand from some things that have gone on in a company that I'm familiar with. I know firsthand the grass is always greener. And so even on the days where it's like, this is a drag. I wish I was doing something else. I wish I made more money. I wish, you know, da-da-da-da-da. Grass is always greener until it's not.
And it never is, everybody. That's what it is. It's never greener.
And I hope that I can maintain the same view, you know, years down the road when I've continued in my business. Because I know it's easier said than done. You know, some kid who's 4 months in, it's a lot different than someone who's a veteran, you know, 10, 15, 20 years in their industry.
Well, so, you are in your wise old age of 29, so.
Yeah, so there will be hard days, there will be great days, but at the end of the day, my goal is to honor Christ and glorify him. And if that's what I'm seeking to do, it doesn't matter whether I'm golfing, it doesn't matter whether I'm coaching, it doesn't matter if I'm a doctor, lawyer, custodian, work at the grocery store. It doesn't matter because Jesus could return tomorrow. And sometimes we don't think like that. You know, we think that tomorrow's a given. And I certainly think that sometimes too, you know, oh, I'll do it tomorrow.
The sun come out
tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, and I like your point that even if it is your dream job and you love what you do, it's not all sunshine and rainbows every single day, all day long. And there's always a give and take. Even
if you find fulfillment in the world, you'll never be happy.
Yeah. Especially if you find fulfillment in a job.
I'm sorry if you're on that path. You can come talk to me.
And there's like that saying that people always say, like, anyone on their deathbed is never going to say, I wish I had worked more.
Yeah.
They're always going to say, like, I wish I had spent more time with my family. That's like the biggest one. Or like,
you keep sending me that meme, by the way.
Just focusing on what actually matters. What?
I said you keep sending me that meme, by the way. Stop.
What, me?
The one you're talking about.
I do? I'm confused.
It's because you're not 29. You don't get it.
Yeah. I don't really know what's happening. I'm just a baby. Anyway.
Thanks for being here, Ashton.
You're welcome.
What's your best joke?
Favorite joke or best joke?
Why do golfers always carry a spare pair of pants with them?
In case you get a hole in one. But yeah, sorry I don't have a joke for
jokes. You can tell one of the golf ones.
I'll try and if one comes into mind in the next 2 minutes.
You did say earlier that you're a walking joke.
Oh, it's a redhead? Yeah. Well, and to be fair, when I was in high school, not only was I a redhead, but I was also fat. And I also really like Pokemon. So I literally was a walking joke. I was the easiest target.
That is really sad.
That makes me so sad.
See, but
why is that?
If I hadn't been brutally picked on like I was, I would not be the person that I am today.
That's fair.
And so I know that's I never wish anybody to get picked on. But I used to have really thin skin. Everything offended me. And
fair, you were a little kid.
Yeah.
That's mean.
Kids are mean.
Brutal.
Kids are rough,
savage.
Dude.
That's why it's so great when you get a compliment from a kid.
Uh-huh.
Because you know they only tell the truth.
Oh, I want which camera am I looking at? So that one? Okay, Leo, if you ever see this, shout out to you. Leo is one of my students. He's 9. I think he might have just turned 10. He's turning 10 this week if he didn't already. He is the most respectful, kind little kid I have ever seen. He's so sweet. His parents are great. I have a blast working with Leo. He gives me hope for all the other young kids out there.
Good job, Leo and Leo's parents.
Yeah, Leo,
I think this is your
rock.
plug to have more babies like Leo.
Yeah, those types of
make
families.
More of those. Yep.
Need to make more.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell everyone. Look at that camera over there. You already found it. Tell everyone how to find you.
Okay. Easiest way to find me is to go to 323golf.com. You can also find me on Instagram at 323golflbk. You can also, let's see, what would be the other easiest way? You could call me at 806-503-4012. Call or text. Either one of those works.
Man, you just gave that girl your number.
That's my business number. It's on my website.
Okay, we're good. Yeah, if you want golf lessons, you
do.
You
do want them. And there's hope for you if you're 29 and a tennis player. That's exciting. Yeah.
There's hope for everybody.
Hope for everyone.
Thanks for being here, Ashton.
You're welcome.
This has been a good episode.
Thank you for having me.
I know so much more about golf now.
I'm glad.
Bye. Thanks for watching this episode of the Stay Focused podcast.
You can find more episodes wherever you listen to podcasts.
Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, and if you want more bonus content, you can join our Patreon.
Remember that your story matters, so stay focused.